Sir, calling your attention to what has been moved into evidence as Defense Exhibit 120, 121, 122, and 123. Are you familiar with those exhibits?
I am.
And have you had an opportunity to review those exhibits?
I have.
And state to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what did you do in your review as a digital forensic examiner?
Well, as Detective Miller indicated, these portable cases facilitate everybody to visualize the data from the respective devices, ourselves included. We use these, and we're able to look at both user accessible files, like what you would see on your phone, and we're also able to see the data behind the data frequently, which can be informative depending on the nature of the investigation.
And do you understand these items to be verified data extractions performed by Detective Miller using appropriate tools and best practices?
I do. I've reviewed his reports and came to the conclusion that he did everything exactly the way he should have and the way he was trained to do it, using the tools that are approved by the industry and accepted by the courts.
And do these items, specifically the exhibits, provide us an opportunity to review the raw data extracted from their respective devices in a forensically sound manner?
They do. So the nature of the case, in addition to giving us visibility, bless you, into all of the data on the device, we can't alter anything, and that's what makes it forensically sound. That's what how the term is defined. So anyone using this can't add anything. We can't delete anything. We can't change anything. If there was a virus on the device, it stays sandboxed within the case. It does not spread to our computers. So it's helpful in a lot of ways.
And so is this considered a safe environment in the world of digital forensics?
It is, and that's the nature, the forensic and forensically sound. It prevents, it's not like blood evidence, but it prevents cross-contamination so that what's on here is on here exactly the way it was when the device was either imaged or acquired when Detective Miller did it back contemporaneous to the event back in 2023.
Based upon your review of this data, were you able to draw any opinions related to this case?
I was.
And what were those opinions?
That catfishing did not occur.
And did you produce any demonstratives that you can display to help walk us through your findings?
I have.
Sir, do you see the next slide on the screen?
I do.
And if you can describe what you see there on the screen.
Judge, I'd object to any description of the content, hearsay.
There are pictures there, Judge.
So if you could just maybe limit it to the pictures.
Okay. Let's start with the pictures.
Okay.
Do you recognize those pictures?
I do.
And are those pictures that you were able to identify independently within the data that was provided in discovery for the defense?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And if we can look at the first picture, do you have any idea based on digital forensics where that picture was taken, or actually not where that picture was taken, where that picture came from?
The picture on the left?
Yes.
The picture on the left came from Christine Banfield's phone.
And the picture on the right?
Also.
Okay. And what processes did you utilize in order to reach those conclusions?
Well, as I was reviewing the data from Ms. Banfield's phone, I found them. They were familiar to me because I had seen them from other sources, such as search warrant returns from FetLife. I'd also seen one of them in Facebook returns. That a return is data provided by a service provider in response to a warrant. So I've seen them both from multiple sources.
And the one on the left that you've identified, is there any way to know the timing of that based upon your analysis?
I believe it was January 17th, around 8 p.m.
And January 17th is significant in this case.
Objection, counsel's testifying.
Sorry. What's the significance of January 17th in terms of the issues in this case?
Yeah, and the photo, I believe, was actually closer to 7:30 or 7:20. January 17th was the day that the FetLife account, which is obviously important in this investigation, was created. That is the user profile. Somebody set up an account on FetLife, and one of these pictures came into play.
So let's take this opportunity to talk about the accounts that were set up that were alleged to have been run by Juliana Perez Magalhaes in her recant. What were the accounts that we're talking about?
So there's 3 accounts. There was the Gmail account, there was the FetLife account, and then the third would be the Telegram account.
And can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what's the significance of those 3 accounts and how are they linked?
So each account is linked to at least one other account, and that's significant for me as a digital forensic examiner because it's sort of a one or done. And the way the accounts were set up, so the Gmail account was set up first. The Gmail account was used to set up the FetLife account. So you couldn't set up the FetLife account unless you knew about and had access to the Gmail account. To have access to the Gmail account, you'd have to know it existed, and then you'd have to have the password to log into it. So the Gmail account sets up the FetLife account. The FetLife account was used to move conversations over to Telegram. So all 3 accounts are linked, and anybody that had knowledge of any one of the accounts owns all 3 of the accounts. You couldn't use one without the other. You couldn't jump into a Telegram conversation without knowing first how it began from FetLife, and you couldn't get into FetLife without...
Doctor, I'm going to object to the speculation, wouldn't be able to, there's no foundation for that.
All right, I'll sustain as to that, just that part.
Okay. In terms of the objection relating to foundation, what did you rely upon in order to inform those opinions that you're telling the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
The content of the data within the accounts and my knowledge of how accounts work in the FetLife responsive documents from the Fairfax County Police Department search warrant. It says right in there that the user email associated with this is the Gmail account. So the user connected the accounts. The Telegram connectivity is based on the content from the FetLife messages. Please contact me. Do you have Telegram? Please contact me there.
Sir, I'm going to have you look at the next slide. Is this the foundational artifact that supports your testimony to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
So this is a picture that Ms. Banfield took of herself on the evening of January 17th.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Is that 115?
This would be 127.
127. Your Honor, I move that in as Defense Exhibit 127.
Any objection to 127?
No, ma'am.
Okay, 127 in evidence, you can publish it to the jury.
And so if you can just explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the artifact, what's the significance of that artifact and what you took from it to arrive at your conclusions?
So it's a picture, obviously, of Miss Banfield. I'd characterize it as a selfie in the mirror. The file name and date, or the file name, that's what I'd call a typical Samsung or Android file naming convention. So in line with what I'd expect to see for a picture taken by a Samsung mobile device. At the very bottom of the screen, you can see that it is a Samsung phone model SMG991U. The dates and times, the date and time here that's relevant is January 17th, 2023 at 7:20 and 45 seconds p.m. If you look at the file name 4 lines above, that is the typical Android file naming convention, and that's comprised of the date. So we see 2023 0117 underscore, and then 1920, which is 7:20 in 24-hour time.
Now, the software and the make and the model, is that significant? Does that corroborate anything that you've identified?
Yes, the make and the model is corroborative. This phone was, in fact, a Samsung SMG991U, which informs me that this picture was actually taken in what we call native to the device. So it's a photo both contained on the device but taken by that device rather than one you'd get in a text message or email as attachment.
Your Honor, I don't believe I previously identified it, but I would put it in as Defense Exhibit 127.
This one, it's already been, and it's been published for the last.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I'm covering my bases.
Okay.
Sir, I'm going to have you look at this item. Do you see that on the screen?
I do.
And are those digital artifacts that you relied on in arriving at this?
You could call them.
Describe what you have, what you see in that slide.
So this is part of the responsive documents received in this case from Facebook. And so the information, it is digital, it is artifacts, but it's not recovered from a device so much as from provided by Facebook from their servers.
Okay. And did you create this slide?
I did, yes.
Okay. And what's the significance of the notations on the left side? Actually, Your Honor, I would move to enter into evidence. I think Defense Exhibit 127?
128.
128.
128. Any objection to 128?
No, ma'am.
All right, 128 in evidence published, please.
Sir, can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what those markings are, both on the left side of the picture and below the picture?
Yeah, so as I said, this is information that was provided by Facebook. This is where Christine shared this photo with Brendan. Just starting at the top left and working down into the right. The author, Christine Banfield, so it was sent by her from her account. It was sent on the service providers, in this case, almost universally, provide us with documents in UTC, Coordinated Universal Time versus or Greenwich Mean Time. So it needs to be adjusted. So this in February, or January, I'm sorry, we need to subtract 5 hours. So that's why it's appearing as January 18th instead of January 17th. But January 18th at midnight and 20 seconds, midnight and 20 minutes is actually January 17th at 7 p.m. and 20 minutes here on the East Coast. So she sent it, and the body of the message she sent was new bathing suit, including, and the artifact below that is just the attachment, which is this photo, and the name that, the associated data that Facebook includes with that.
So let's just have a little discussion about UTC time. You called it Greenwich Mean Time, correct?
Objection, mischaracterization. He said that it is universal, and it is a 5-hour difference. I believe it's been asked and answered.
I think he can explain it, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry, was that a stipulation that it's a 5-hour difference?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so we don't need to explain too much now. Why are some items in UTC time versus present time?
My experience and what I believe to be the reasons, and this is universal with service providers, from my experience, Google, Facebook, phone companies as well, they just provide everything in UTC time. So they provide it in one time zone and you have to do the work. Otherwise, they'd have to send records to Fairfax in East Coast time. They'd send them Chicago in Central time, LA, and they're providing records to law enforcement and legal counsel all over the world. So they just send it as UTC. That's, I think, why UTC exists, sort of to give us all something we can all start with and work with personally from there.
Thank you, sir. Can you look at this next slide?
Yes.
Is that something that informed your opinion that you've been telling the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes, this is a digital artifact from a laptop.
Okay. And is that the laptop, Christine's laptop, that was introduced into evidence through the portable case with Detective Miller?
It is.
Okay. And can you explain, Your Honor, I've moved that in as Commonwealth's Exhibit 129.
Any objection?
No objection.
129.
Sir, can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that is and how that's significant?
Sure. This is a Windows event artifact. It contains the security identifier. So for Windows computers, every user is assigned a security identifier number, and that's the long number we see on the second line down, ending in 1001 on this case. So that just informs us of which user profile was active at the time that the activity took place. So a computer, if you have a shared computer in your household with 4 people, each one will have their own unique security identifier, and that's what you get when you log into your profile, and that's why your things will come up, your information, your email accounts, versus somebody else who might be using a shared computer. It could also be in play with, for work computers that are shared as well.
Oops, sorry.
The time and date are just that, and these have been. This is in East Coast time because of where the computer is located, and down to the bottom, the third line up, just tells us what this event represented, and this is just simply a log on to this device by that particular user with the security identifier of 1001.
Sir, I'm going to have you take a look at this slide. Is this a slide that you created for this presentation?
This is a screenshot of an artifact from the same computer.
And what's the significance? Well, Your Honor, I move this in as Commonwealth's Exhibit number 130.
Any objection?
No objection.
130?
Sir, if you could, go through this. What is the significance of this artifact in terms of a digital forensic analysis?
Similar to the last, this is just another standard Windows event that we often see when a computer is either powered on or logged onto. So The time of this, if you want to compare it to the slide before, is likely within milliseconds. A lot of things happen when we start our computers that go on in the background. The previous slide was the user logging into their account. This is just reflective of the computer probably almost immediately joining the Wi-Fi account for in this case, what I know to be the Banfield home.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, he's referenced the previous slide. I'm going to put it back to the previous slide.
129 is an evidence, so you can go back to 129.
So that's the previous slide.
Yeah.
Can you just highlight what it is you were talking about in terms of the timing?
Yeah, so if we look at the created date time,
Judge, the Commonwealth will stipulate that they show the same time.
Okay. Stipulation that it shows the same time. Thank you. So is there anything additional that you need to testify to about that slide?
no.
Do you see a slide before you?
I do.
Okay. Your Honor, that would be identified as Defense Exhibit 131.
All right. I'm just making sure we didn't see it yesterday. I'm not sure we did. So we'll make it 131.
I don't think we did, Judge.
Okay, 131.
May have.
Sir, do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And if you could just describe, was this something that you utilized in your forensic analysis of this case?
Yeah, I think there are other images that are associated with this that will come up in progressive clicks, but this is using artifacts from the laptop that I examined, or the portable case that I was using to examine artifacts from within the laptop. This is a sort of sequencing of events in chronological order, and that's, I think as I described before, something we do looking backward in time and following events on a device might help inform who was using the computer, and certainly the time and date and what they might have been doing.
Your Honor, I move this in as Defense Exhibit number 131.
Any objection?
No, thank you.
131 in evidence.
If you could please publish that to the jury. Sir, can you just explain, they didn't have that on the screen when you were...
Sure, these are the artifacts that I located on Miss Banfield's laptop, and this just shows that shortly after the computer was logged on and joined the Wi-Fi, she opened a browser and navigated to or viewed a Google website and her email
Judge,
inbox.
objection calls for speculation. He doesn't know who it was that looked at anything. He can tell us what the computer did.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
The person whoever was using the computer opened a Google website and Google inbox related to Miss Banfield.
And sir, what's the significance of the email, the Gmail account that's identified in the second line there versus other Gmail accounts?
So this one became known to me through my review of all of the evidence in the case as Miss Banfield's sort of go-to email account. This is not the alleged suspect email account that we talked about as being formed on January 9th.
And what was the alleged suspect Gmail account that you referred to?
That was the one that was used to then set up the FetLife account in Telegram. It's the account, the alleged suspect Gmail account was the one that received communication from FetLife, both the FetLife service provider and from users wanting to message through that account.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to show you this next slide. Do you see that?
I do.
Your Honor, I'd move that in as Commonwealth's Defense Exhibit 132.
All right, any objection to 132?
No objection.
All right, and evidence can publish?
And so tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what this is.
So again, chronologically, this is, it looks like just under a minute later, whoever was using this computer was now able to see the draft email box within their Gmail account, the Miss Banfield's Gmail account, also the sent email box or account messages from Miss Banfield's account.
And where are the sent emails that you're referencing?
It's the now fourth line down. You can see on the title of the slide, also on the left-hand side for the URL, that's just showing that the sent mail box or tab was open at this time.
Okay, and the draft mails are the one, well, you tell me. I'm not going to.
Yes, the draft is right above it. Usually parenthetically, when there's a number there, for us email users, that reflects the unread messages in the respective accounts.
Your Honor, did I move that into evidence?
That's in evidence already.
Okay. Sir, do you see this new slide, which is incorporating the old slide?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and what's the significance of that? And then if you identify it, then I'm going to move it into evidence. So just identify that as a slide, and Your Honor, I'd identify it as Defense Exhibit 132?
133.
133.
Any objection to 133?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Again, just chronologically, this is more activity shifting away from one service provider to another, from Gmail to Facebook in less than a minute.
And the timing is in the second column?
It is. So this would be January 17th at 10:01 and 10 seconds p.m.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to move on to the next slide. This will be identified as Defense Exhibit 134.
Any objection to 134?
Sorry, Judge, if I just have a second.
Yes.
Judge, I understand that the slides are just successive.
The only new thing is the artifact information.
Right, we're just adding one item at a time.
Is
Oh,
it-
okay,
No
sure.
objection?
No objection.
134.
Sir, as Ms. Sands said, this is a progression of items, and there's a new portion. Can you describe what that is?
Yes, so this is artifact information relating to the login of now the alleged suspect Gmail account. So we can see down at the bottom in the highlighted section, this is CBRN920 at Gmail. That's different from the email that we see at the top of the screen for C. Banfield. So this is significant because now, again, we're talking about a login to the account that's central to this investigation. So whoever was using the computer at this time at 10:03 and 4 seconds was clearly aware of the account and had the credentials because this is a successful login.
Sir, do you see that slide, the new slide?
I do.
Okay, and there's, as said before, there's one additional piece of evidence there. Is this something that you created and something that you relied upon?
It is.
Okay, Your Honor, I move that in as Defense Exhibit 135.
Any objection?
No.
135.
Sir, if you can explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the significance of this in terms of digital forensic analysis.
So the content to me is not as informative necessarily as the sequencing. So we had Facebook at 10:01. If we look just above the Google login we just discussed, or the Gmail login we just discussed, we have the Gmail login at 10:03. and now we're back in Facebook at 10:03 and 35 seconds. The significance of the highlighted portion in the last artifact, or the newer one that we're reviewing, is that we're looking at a media attachment within Facebook. Obviously, for any of us who use it, there's a lot of different things we can look at, but in this particular one, we were looking at a media attachment.
Sir, if you could look at the next slide, which would be identified as Defense Exhibit 136. Please explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is this something that you relied on in your digital forensic analysis?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Your Honor, I move that in as
Any objection?
Defense Exhibit 136.
136 in evidence, publish.
Go ahead, sir. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what this significance of this in the line of messages?
Yeah, so as we might imagine, as we do things on our computers, things happen in rapid fashion, and when we slow down and sort of look at what's happening on the back end and visualize it that way, it seems to make sense. So just before this, at 10:03 and 35 seconds, we are looking at a media attachment, what I believe is a photo on Facebook. And then 5 seconds later, at 10:03 and 40 seconds, we have a download of a photo in the Chrome browser that was being used at the time. And this is a download to the computer.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask you to identify as Defense Exhibit 137. Can you look at that, sir?
Yes, I can.
And is this something that you analyzed and created as a result of your digital forensic analysis?
It is.
Your Honor, I move that in as Defense Exhibit 137.
Any objection?
Nope.
137 in evidence, publish.
Sir, can you give some context, or can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you obtained this and what the significance of it is?
Sure. So again, each of these is building on the previous artifact, but so at 10:03:40, we had the photo downloaded to the computer. At 10:04 and 23 seconds, so under a minute later, that same photo is emailed as an attachment from the alleged suspect Gmail account to the alleged suspect Gmail account. And the email attachment, if we look at the file name on the very bottom that ends in 1973_n.jpg, we can see that that's the same file that was downloaded from Facebook 2 lines above it at 10:03 and 40 seconds.
And sir, this is identified as Defense Exhibit 138. Is this highlighting what you just said?
It is. This is just drawing attention to the fact that we're correlating now the same photo, and this is one of the things we do in digital forensics. We can follow an artifact around as it goes, and that can be informative.
Your Honor, can I move that in as Defense Exhibit 138?
Any objection?
No, don't.
All right, 138.
The ladies and gentlemen just see that. Do you want to direct them as to what the change is in this photo?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is just the annotation I described, just showing that these two artifacts are linked. The download,
Sorry.
it's gone.
I
There it is.
big
The download a minute or so before the email.
Okay, thank you. Sir, I'm going to have you look at the next slide, which will be identified as Defense Exhibit 139. What is that?
These are WhatsApp messages from Miss Banfield's cell phone.
Okay, and what, if anything, how did you arrive at, how did you get these digital forensic artifacts?
From the review of the data provided from the portable case related to Miss Banfield's cell phone.
And Your Honor, I move this in as Defense Exhibit 139.
Any objection?
No.
139?
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury of what the significance of this communication? And am I correct, this is all on January 17th?
This is on January 17th, yes.
Okay.
So I think as Detective Miller said rather well, context matters, context is helpful. So we don't, to help determine user attribution, which is always the big question for us in the digital forensics field, we don't just look at one device, we look at everything we possibly can to inform what a person was, where a person was. If someone's device is being used by someone other than the owner, if they're physically removed from it, we can draw that conclusion. So I was simply looking at Ms. Banfield's phone at the same time frame that I was looking at her laptop, so we can see the date is January 17th, and the timing is right around the same time that we were looking at from the computer a moment ago, right around the early 10 o'clock hour.
Sir, I'm going to move to the next slide and have you take a look at that. Can you identify that slide?
I can.
And just to be careful here, is the left side of the slide what was on the previous slide, 139? Were those the communications that you were talking about on the previous slide?
Yeah, so,
Do you want me to go back so you can see it?
no, I have them both.
Okay.
Would you like me to describe this?
If you could describe it.
Yeah, so one of the things that the forensic software allows us to do is both look at the artifact in sort of a raw form that might be useful for us, but it also allows us to visualize a conversation just like we would on our devices. So we'd have, sort of a comment bubble or a chat bubble on the right and the left as we talk with somebody.
Okay.
So it's just a visual representation of the same data.
And so without getting into the conversations, were you able to determine that a conversation took place?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to determine who the conversation was between?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see that on your screen?
I can.
And is that something that you utilized in your digital forensic analysis?
It is.
Your Honor, I move that in as exhibit number 141.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
141?
Sir, can you please explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what's the significance of this artifact?
Sure. This ties into the prior slide and artifacts that we reviewed, or the ones from the laptop, 2 slides prior. Again, we're just going chronologically and looking at what the user of this device was engaged in. Of note, and it might be helpful to go back 2 slides to the previous blue one. We're seeing a bouncing between applications and between accounts. That's helpful for me in this case, at least, because part of the information that I was aware of from witness interviews or co-defendant interviews is that when this device, which was the subject of alleged misattribution, removal, and use by another party or parties, that when the laptop was in that possession, it was just, we were just using the account, or it was directed account usage. Here we're seeing a shift back and forth. So we started with Gmail at the beginning of this 2 slides ago. And then we went to Facebook, and then we had a download, and then we saw the suspect alleged account, or alleged suspect email account in use. Then, and now here at 10:05, so this is all within a 5-minute window, we're back into Ms. Banfield's sort of the non-suspect account, so just her personal email account.
Sir, I'm going to have you look at the next slide, which is what you just described to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, that would be exhibit number 142.
Any objection?
No, thank you.
Sir, can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what's the significance of the additional line that's down on the bottom of this slide?
Yeah, it's merely just a continuation. The first line of this demonstrative, or sheet of the demonstrative is at 10:05 at 17 seconds, and that's looking at a particular email. So that's where we see on the second and third lines respectively, sent mail, that's the sent mail box, and the inbox with a lot of unread messages. The first line is an actual specific message.
Sir, I'm going to have you look at the next slide, which will be identified as exhibit 143. Do you recognize that slide?
I do.
Do you recognize the additional line?
I do.
Okay. Your Honor, move that in as exhibit 143.
Any objection?
No, thank you.
143.
Sir, can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the significance of this artifact?
Sure. So this is a Google search for FetLife, which obviously is important in this case. Of note is the timing, again, looking at what's occurring right before this. So at 10:05, 10:06, 10:07, we have activity within Ms. Banfield's email account. And here at 10:07, basically 10:08, now we have a Google search for FetLife. So we've moved, the user of this device at this time has moved from one to the other.
Your Honor, I'm going to move on to the next slide.
All right.
Sir, can you identify what will be marked as exhibit 144?
Yes, I can.
And Your Honor, I move that into evidence.
Any objection?
No.
144.
Sir, can you please explain that additional line and how it relates to the ones that you've already discussed?
Sure. So this is typically after a Google search and relatable. The search results come in, and very frequently users will click on a link. So in the third line down, we have a search for FetLife, and then immediately after, within under 30 seconds, we have a visit to the FetLife site.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to the next slide,
All right.
and this will be identified as exhibit 145. Sir, is that an artifact that you utilized in creating this slide?
It is.
Okay. Your Honor, I move that in as exhibit
Any
145.
objection?
No objection.
145.
Sir, please explain the significance of this additional artifact to what you've already described for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
So this is a second login to the alleged suspect email account, the CBRN 920 Gmail account at 10:12 p.m. My experience is you cannot be logged into two Gmail accounts at once on the same device. So looking up to the top row of this slide, we're into Ms. Banfield's sort of personal email account. So at that point, this computer was logged into the C. Banfield RN account, and now we're seeing a relog in back to the CBRN 920 account.
And is there any way to know what device that is?
That was from this laptop, from Ms. Banfield's Lenovo laptop.
Your Honor, I'm going to move on to the next slide,
All right.
and that will be identified as exhibit 146. Sir, is this an artifact, or is this a slide that you created based upon your digital forensics analysis?
It is.
And Your Honor, I move that in as defense exhibit 146.
Any objection?
No.
146.
So moving on, sir, can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the significance of the data that's before them?
This is from Ms. Banfield's mobile device. This is a little bit later in the 10 o'clock hour, from 10:43 to 10:46 p.m. And these are just website visits that were performed using her mobile device at the time.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to the next slide,
All right.
and this will be identified as Exhibit 147. Sir, do you recognize that artifact?
I do.
And is that something that you reviewed in preparing this slide?
It is.
Can you please explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what's the significance of this? Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I moved that in as,
Any objection?
No.
I think she said no.
Oh, you said no.
I'm sorry, no.
Okay, sorry. 147 evidence, sorry.
Okay, now it's on display, so if you could please explain that to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yeah, this is simply opening the photo app on the Windows laptop.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to the next slide,
All right.
identified as 148.
Any objection to 148?
No.
148 in evidence.
Sir, explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the artifacts are and how they're significant.
So the user of this device at this time, using the Photos app, edited the photo we saw back at the beginning of these slides. So if you remember the photo we saw that was downloaded from Facebook to the device ended in 1973_N. And now we see at 10:47 p.m. a new photo ending in 1973_N edit.jpg has now been used by the Photo app on Christine's laptop.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to the next exhibit. Sir, do you recognize this exhibit?
But I do, it's just a call out for,
Okay, it'll be identified as Exhibit 148.
149.
149, I
Any
apologize.
objection to 149?
Well, he didn't make the circle himself, but I don't object.
Okay, 149 in evidence.
And I'm sorry, if you could, the jury now sees that. What were you saying about that?
yeah, that the circle is just a call out to what I described, just taking note of the file name.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to the next slide. This will be identified as Exhibit 150.
Any objection to 150?
Nope.
150.
Sir, can you add?
Yeah, it's just a further call out to the tail end, the 1973_N edit.jpg.
And when you say call out, what your explanation was?
Yeah, just drawing attention to the significant part of the file name.
Your Honor, I'm
Twice.
going to move to the next slide.
All right.
Sir, do you see the slide in front of you?
I do.
Okay, and this would be identified as Exhibit 151.
151. Any objection to 151?
Judge, if you could lay foundation for how this slide was created.
All right.
Sir, what is it that you examined in order to create this slide? Can you explain?
Sure. I reviewed the responsive documents provided by FetLife to create this. I took screen grabs or snippets of those documents, which are rather voluminous, and I consolidated what the salient points were into this slide.
And this is specifically related to this slide, correct? I'm sorry, to the topic of this slide.
Yes, this is the important information from the FetLife documents for this discussion. related to this slide, yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I move that in as Commonwealth's, or Defense Exhibit 151.
Any objection there?
Judge, I do. Unfortunately, it's out of context, and I think best evidence would require the full document be used.
Do you have the full document?
Judge, I believe that's part of the stipulations that were put in relating to the FetLife documents.
Correct, and we've admitted the full document into evidence. I think that is the document that should be used.
I don't have it right now, Judge.
All right.
We can move on from
If you can supplement it
151.
with the full document, then we can
Yes.
put it in. Okay.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to what will be identified as number 152. Sir, do you recognize this slide?
I do.
Okay, and I think there's been an objection relating to the full document, but what's the additional information that is on this document?
It's the addition of a photograph.
Okay, and what's the origin of that photograph?
Objection, Judge, asked and answered. We've already talked about this photograph. It's been admitted into evidence.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Your Honor, once we get the full
Okay.
document, then I'll
Sure.
ask for it to be admitted. I'm going to go on to the next slide, Judge.
Okay.
Sir, can you identify the artifacts that were used to make up this slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and where did they come from, and what's the significance of them for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
These came from Ms. Banfield's cell phone. They are web searches.
If I may just interrupt for a second, Your Honor, we'd move this in as Defense Exhibit number 153.
Any objection to 153?
No objection.
153?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. These are web searches or website visits from Ms. Banfield's cell phone from January 17th, from 10:49 through 11:29 p.m. They're informative in that the 10:49 artifact at the top was about a minute after the FetLife account was created, so for timing, it's informative. For the middle column, we can see what the website was, or what was the website that was visited, what the content was. So that can be informative for a digital forensic examiner in helping determine potential attribution based on the content. So is it content related to one person over another? Is it related to, in this case, a catfishing theme? Is it related to, or is it what we might expect from a user's normal activity? It's also, I'm sorry if I can add one.
No, please.
Timing also is informative, obviously. If somebody's device is in use and we can assign attribution, then it shows that they're awake and in possession of their device. And obviously that was, for me, that was something important for this investigation to take note of.
Now, if just to deviate for a moment from that, in digital forensic analysis, what, if anything, do you do to try to determine a pattern of life regarding the use of devices?
Yeah, I can typically just looking at use over time, what's normal for a user. I've done that with, mobile device tracking, cell phone tracking when I was in law enforcement. You can infer patterns from the data, from use over time. On Ms. Banfield's computer, based on one of the statements the co-defendant made during her interviews, and I believe, again, a testimony was that she dropped her backpack by the door and didn't touch her laptop after that. I looked backwards for about a year in time of her user activity, and she was frequently using her laptop well into the evening from 10.
Judge, objection is to speculation. He can tell us what the devices were doing.
Now sustained.
If you could just explain what you were explaining as to what the devices were doing at what period of times, in terms of the pattern that you just described.
Sure. Ms. Banfield's device had a history of activity, our devices had a history of activity well into the evening for an extended period of time, both
Was there
before.
a time frame that was consistent during that period of a year that you went back?
It was frequently between 10 or 11 p.m. and 1 or 2 a.m.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to the next slide.
All right.
Sir, do you see that slide?
I do.
Is that a slide that you created?
It is.
And was it based on your analysis of digital forensics?
It is.
Your Honor, I'm going to identify this as 154.
Any objection to 154?
No.
Or 154 in evidence?
Sir, please explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the significance of these artifacts are.
So here we have the date is still January 17th. The time is from 11:32 through 11:35. These are from Ms. Banfield's mobile device. We have a couple of website visits on the top and the bottom, and in between we have a number of email inbox visits with a Google, a couple of Googles in between. Of note here towards the right, the second to last column on the right, the digital forensic software we use can tell us whether a device was local or synced, among other sources. So we can see where we see local, it means in this case, the two local artifacts were website visits on this device itself. The intervening artifacts that are labeled as synced tell us that those could have come from a secondary device and are being replicated here as a result of Google's ability to sync accounts. If you're logged into your account on more than one device, what you do on one might appear on the other.
Now, the January 17th, what was the significance of January 17th again?
The FetLife was created around 10:48 p.m.
Okay, and so the timelines of all of these slides that the jury has seen are significant in terms of this setup.
Objection, counsel's testifying.
What's the significance of it relating to the times?
Well, we've just walked through what was occurring on Ms. Banfield's laptop and her phone in the 45 minutes or so before through the 45 minutes or so after. And recalling the first slides we saw Windows log on to the laptop. So we've seen, the activity that evening began around 10 o'clock when we first started running through these.
And are you, based upon the analysis that you did during this slideshow presentation, are you able to opine as to, within the degrees of digital forensic analysis, your opinions as to what was going on January 17th?
I am.
Can you provide that opinion?
So again, revisiting the originating slides, we saw a log on with Ms. Banfield's security identifier to her profile, at least on her laptop, around 10 o'clock, joining the Wi-Fi, which our computers do automatically. Immediately, we went into her email account, or the user of the device went into her email account, and then we started seeing other activity. We saw the alleged suspect Gmail account be logged into, and then we were back into Ms. Banfield's Facebook account where we viewed an image, a picture, a digital image. That image was then downloaded. And these are all happening within either seconds or a minute. That downloaded image was brought to the device early in the 10 o'clock hour, I think around 10:05. And then we saw, 30 or 40 minutes later, the Photos app opened up an image edited and that image would ultimately be uploaded to the FetLife account during the account creation. All the while on Ms. Banfield's phone, there appears to be certainly user activity. As Detective Miller said, context is hard, and we might need other corroborative data to see who was conducting that, but it's certainly unrelated. I think the website visit about Kristen Chenoweth has nothing to do with the scheme here at hand. So we can infer, and we do, and this is just one event in a timeline of many significant events, but we can draw inferences based on the totality before, after, during, and the content of who might have been operating. What I didn't see was a gap in time where a device that appears to be going in and out of accounts related to the scheme and not related to the scheme was exchange hands, like misappropriated. I didn't see any gaps of time where, where somebody might be using a device and then like go to the bathroom and the device would be taken, potentially somewhere else in a house, used by somebody else and brought back. I didn't see gaps here for this particular event where that either occurred or even could.
Objection calls for speculation.
All right, let's sustain that last part.
Okay. Based upon the analysis, in terms of the statements that you're making, what are your conclusions?
I didn't see anything here that indicated loss of control of the device. I'm not able to say who was in control of the device for the entirety of this period, but I did see inconsistencies in that the usage was not confined just to the accounts related to this investigation. In this case, that would be the suspect alleged Gmail account and the FetLife account. So interspersed with that, I saw personal account usage with Ms. Banfield's accounts.
All right, thank you. Mr. Klitsky?